name's Holly. I'm from Sacramento. I'm 38 years old, and I'm gonna make a sexy, simple dish that anyone can make at home. It's butter poached lobster ravioli. This tiny little lobster tail. I already prepped everything. We're gonna use some leeks, some shallots, garlic. These are herbs from my garden, and most importantly, some cognac. So I have my butter in my pan. It's going to get nice and deliciously creamy and melt, and then I'm going to add my leeks and my shallots, and you can hear them sizzle already. And then I'm going to let those sweat for a little bit while I actually cut the lobster in half so you can see how we're going to poach it. And then I'm going to add the garlic afterwards because we don't want to burn it. So just take your lobster tail with a really sharp knife, because if you use a dull knife, it's actually more dangerous. So sharpen your knife. Take the lobster tail right at the end, and you're just going to pierce the end of the tail, and you're just going to cut it all the way down. It's almost like a butterfly. And it's going to look like a little happy lobster. That's all you need. Just a little bit of love. And we're going to poach that into the sauce. So this is going to saute probably for about 8 minutes. Once that cooks down, I'm going to add the garlic in there and a little bit of love. Well, I'm Italian, so we just like to eat in general. But I don't know, I learned how to cook from the microwave when I was a kid, when my mom used to drop me off after school. Kind of like Martha Stewart when she got out of prison. Only I got out of kindergarten, and that's what I started doing. So and then when I went to college to make money, I started cooking for my friends, and it just kind of went on from there. So these have been sauteing for about 8 minutes. We're dropping the garlic, and just a martini-sized glass full of cognac. You can cook with any kind of alcohol you like, but let's not get cheap, okay? Let's not do it. Here we go. Splash cognac in there. Well, actually, I'm a culinary school dropout, so I went to culinary school as a hobby, so I could learn cooking skills like knife skills and sauces and things like that. I didn't go into the culinary field because I saw what it was doing to people, and it took away the fun of it. So, you know, I like to be at bars and drink and get silly and go behind the scenes with the chefs, and in fact most of my friends are chefs. I think it's fun. My best friends, some of my closest friends are professional chefs. I think that there's a certain stigma that comes along with chefs. I mean, they have a huge sense of pride, which they should. My favorite part about not being a chef and being able to be friends with chefs is that I get to play with them and they get to teach me things. So some of my best friends are chefs. I think some of them applied for this show, and they'd be proud. I think it'd be fun. This is a little more cognac for the lobster, and a little for me. Whether I win or not, I think my favorite part would be, you know, being in the kitchen with other chefs, because I don't think for me that would be competition. I think it would just be an experience, and that's kind of why I like the food world. I like to write about food. I have a food blog, so I like to write reviews and things like that, and I just like to hang out and learn things. You want to put, real quick, a little bit of acid in here. It'll help cook the fish. So that's all I'm doing right here, but other than that, we're almost done with these little lobster tails. So this guy's getting a little pink right underneath there. So we're going to pull him out and let it cool off. And we're going to let the sauce cool off a little bit here too, because I'm going to pull the meat out of the lobster and I'm going to add some deliciousness, some mascarpone and some of the other herbs. We're going to throw this back in there, and we're going to stuff them in some wontons. Okay, so if you do not have a pasta maker at home, this is a really good way to cheat to make raviolis, and anybody can do it. These are little baby wonton wrappers that you can find in any store, and you can buy the square ones and cut them in rounds, or you can buy these round ones already done. So that's how we're going to sort of cheat here making these raviolis. After I mix up the sauce, I'll show you how to assemble them. My cooking style is sort of the opposite of a baking style. I don't think I've ever made anything the same twice. I don't like to use recipes. I just sort of like to feel and taste and see what I like and sort of put things together. And that's sort of how it is. You know, I learned from the best of the chefs that I go and visit at restaurants. I learned from TV shows, and I learned just from cooking in the kitchen. When I'm in the kitchen, I'm pretty focused, but I like to have fun. Kind of quirky in that I have to have usually, or I should say almost always, Frank Sinatra or some sort of jazz in the background. I'm the happiest during the holidays when I'm cooking for my family and my friends. But more often than not, oh, let us not forget. This is a very important kitchen staple. I'm Italian, so you have to drink while you're cooking or it just doesn't taste the same. So I diced the lobster tail up a little bit, put it back in the poached butter sauce, and I added some oregano and some thyme from my kitchen. There's a lot to love about food. I think for me, and I wish I figured this out a long time ago, food is therapy. So it just makes everything better. If I would have figured that out before I spent $12,000 in therapy, I'd have $12,000 in my pocket. But it's fun for me. My family asks me to cook all the time. I'll go and cook at my friend's house. They just buy the ingredients and then I cook. So for some reason, food, wine, and Frank Sinatra is my trinity. Cheers. This just happened. The lobster mixture that we made just cooled off, and I added some mascarpone, a little bit more brandy, some salt and pepper to taste, and this is what's gonna go in those little raviolis. So I'm gonna start putting them in there and putting them together. The only thing that you have to remember to do is get a little bit of water in here, because what you're gonna do is when you actually close them, you're gonna brush them with a little bit of water while you put them together. Well, I'm a Gemini, rightfully so. So I would say that they would say that I'm pretty feisty, but I do have a kind heart, and I'm very ambitious. I probably didn't finish much in my life, but I'd started a bunch. So it's kind of my goal this year to finish everything that I started. So I hope my family likes me. You just want to put a little bit in the middle because you don't want any of the liquid to come out. Otherwise, just put as much lobster in there as you can, because lobster is just goodness. I think my dream overall would be to travel and eat and drink my face and my ass off, and be able to write about it. So if you go on my blog, I write some reviews right now. I only write 5-star reviews, and it's kind of quirky, it's kind of silly. We have a WTF page, which means with the food. So my goal would really sort of be to take the baton from Anthony Bourdain when he decides to finally retire with his wine cellar and go to town. There are no obstacles. That's just fear masking itself in nothing. So there aren't any obstacles. I mean, we all go through life, but I think, you know, the outcome is probably comes from the worst situations that we've ever been in. So I don't think those are obstacles. I think those are steps. Guys, we're just gonna brush the sides like this, and we're gonna take just one. Remember, make sure there's not 2 of them in there, and then you want to press them down lightly. You want to make sure there are no air bubbles, which seemingly I have plenty of, just so that nothing comes out and doesn't float to the bottom and not cook. But that's kind of what you're looking for right there. Since they're a little wet, I'm going to put them on a can of flour to sort of dry them off a little before we actually put them in the pot of boiling water and have some yumminess. Look at, they don't even have to be perfect. Anybody can do these. So we're going to drop about 3 at a time in there. Hope they don't float to the top or break open. This is happening right now. This is happening. So we got them out. We're going to do 3 here. We're going to put a little brown butter on there. We're going to put a little bit of Parmesan. And then we're going to take a little bit of the sage that came from my garden and not from the grocery store. And boom. Boom. And boom. This is reduced balsamic. Oh. A little drizzle, a little drizzle, a little bit of that. That's food porn. Hey, I just met you. This is crazy.